really, I mean, I absolutely love this. And when I saw it on the radar, like I thought, okay, interesting. And I checked it, I started reading about it, and I went, how fascinating. Like, this man is just unbelievable. So first, my question is to you, over the last few years, you've kind of set aside your feature films to do documentaries. So why the change a little bit?
Well, it hasn't been a planned decision. As you know, in this business, you know, you don't plan things. It's sort of been in and out. I mean, the Florence Broadhurst documentary that I did, that was, you know, in Sundance and I believe on Netflix, I was waiting on finance for Death Defying Acts, which was the film I last brought to Toronto, and it was such a great story. And I said to the producer, well, you know, look, if I could do it in this gap, even if I shot it and then maybe edited it after I finished the other film, and she said fine. And of course, the way things go with getting independent finance for a feature, I ended up finishing the whole film before we got the finance for Death Defying Acts. So that's how that one happened. Yeah. I've developed a number of scripts over the years, and actually one of the things, I mean, really cinema has changed very much in the last 10 years. So maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, I had said to my agent, you know, why are the scripts so, like, you know, bland? Where are all the little interesting ones? And basically she said, well, all our best writers have all gone to TV. So what's happened in cinema is the sort of middle ground human dramas that are my sort of thing, fewer and fewer were being made, and then all those wonderful human drama writers have gone to HBO and Showtime and doing extraordinary stuff. And then there are fewer interesting indie films, but more and more, you know, huge cartoon spectaculars, action films, which is, you know, really not my cup of tea.
Right.
So it was harder to get the sort of films I like made. And there's a thing about the documentaries where, even though, like, there's no money for me or anybody, they're such fun, there's such creative freedom. You know, my last film, big feature film, I had something like 5 producers from, you know, 4 different countries, because it's this thing of putting the finance together, and all fighting. And so to do the documentaries with one producer, where I have complete creative control, has been a joy.
Good.
So there've been great stories to do, but also for me, creatively, I could just be mad. I could take incredible risks, as you see in this film.
Yes.
And so there's so much more satisfying.
So how did Orry kind of get into your radar? You know.
And sorry, that's probably much too long an answer.
No, don't worry, Gillian, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
Orry-Kelly, the whole idea is really my producer's baby. I have to give full credit to Damien Pera, my producer. Damien's father was the very first Australian to ever win an Oscar. He won one in 1945 for his film Kokoda. And Damien grew up without his father, who was killed shortly after in Korea, but obsessed with film and television, and interested in other Australians who won Academy Awards. And he was looking at other names and saw, of all the Australians who'd ever won an Academy Award, there was this name, Orry-Kelly, and he'd won the most, 3, until Catherine Martin beat him finally last year.
Yeah.
And then he read his credits and thought, my God, we've all forgotten this man. And he thought, there's a film in there. And came to me, and my first reaction was, who's Orry-Kelly?
Right.
I very shamefacedly say.
Yeah.
And then same thing, I look at the credits, oh, he won the Academy Award for costume for Some Like It Hot, Les Girls, American in Paris. Yeah. And then I start looking at just the top list of the other films. I'm like, this man did 42nd Street, Casablanca, Irma la Douce,
unbelievable.
Name,
yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And there was sort of a bit of nationalism, which was, my God, he's an Australian,
yeah.
and we in Australia don't even know, and yet we praise our sports people. You know, there's like statues to our greatest cricket players. And so I sort of feel like, you know, I passionately love the arts,
yeah.
and I do love the art of costume design as well, and I think that it's not understood. I mean, costume designers that I interviewed said my own mother they don't realise how much we contribute to the film.
Yeah, because of course, you always know the names Edith Head and, they're the famous designers, but then when, exactly as you mentioned, as I started to look at his credits, I'm like, wow, like the people he dressed and the costumes that he made, and just the story that you told in this. And I loved how you didn't really stray away from your feature background, because you kind of made it into, you have an actor playing him, and then I loved how you did that. How did you think of that idea? It just, oh gosh, it was fabulous to watch.
Well, it was a long process. I've actually been on the film 3 years. It was 2 years of research. I mean, to really do justice to a biography, you know, as an ex-history major, I really feel like, you know, you've got to really check the facts. I mean, everything that we have in the film is the truth as we know it, is the closest we could find. I say we, the wonderful Catherine Thompson, my writer, and I. So because when go to Mr. Google, go to Wikipedia, there was so much that was rumor and error and so on. So it was a big journey. And in the beginning, I said to Damien, I'm not sure whether this is an hour film, or, you know, I don't really know if there's enough story to be a feature film. Yeah, I can see he's talented and the clips will be great. Yeah. But I think a feature film, to stand on its own, you've got to have more depth. And wow, we certainly soon found out what a life Orry-Kelly had had.
What a life is.
What a life.
Yeah, my goodness. I mean, just being with Cary Grant and all that. Wow.
Yes, and the ups and downs.
Yes.
You know, we didn't realize how, you know, the downs were really down.
Yeah.
And then that whole, the whole thing about homophobia in Hollywood at the time. So
great story.
Such a great story.
Yeah, and was it hard for you to find people to come and talk about him?
Well, yes, because he died in 1964. Yeah. It's that thing of, which is also partly answering your question about why did we finally come up with an idea of an actor and these sort of abstract type reenactments. Yeah. I mean, there weren't many people alive who still knew him. We did end up finding 5 extraordinary 80 and 90-year-olds who had wonderful memories. And also people don't interview costume designers, you know, the behind-the-scenes people. I mean, maybe they ask you, oh, should you wear a spot with a stripe, or, you know, what length will hems be next fall or something. So, and a limited number of photographs of him as well. Yeah. So, I mean, I always think that in the end, you've got to find your story and find your heart and soul, and then you go, okay, well, how's the best way to tell this story? Mm-hmm. And Catherine and I, we had this picture that we found of Orry, and it was actually in the historical museum, the little town where he grew up. This picture of him as a 10-year-old boy. He's standing next to a wooden rowboat in a sailor suit, it would have been the place because it's a holiday town. So that would have been, if you were on holiday, you and your family, you'd all go and stand in front of the wooden boat which says Kiama, which is where he's born. Yeah. And there was something about it that seemed so right. I mean, his little sailor suit was perfectly fitting, and his father was a tailor. So we figured, no, this wasn't the costume, you know, the professional photographer's costume. This had been specially made by his father. So it was sort of so appropriate for someone who ended up a costume designer and who travelled across huge oceans from Australia to America, where he finally made it. And his whole life, too, was often a struggle. So we just started throwing around ideas about this boat and a man in a boat. Because I didn't want to do... I hate that really obvious thing in documentaries where if they do reenactments, it's that sort of on-the-nose thing of, you know... he went to the letterbox to get the letter about the war. Cut to the person going to the letterbox getting the letter. Yeah. You know, I just think, you know, we're all too smart for that. Absolutely. And we wanted it to be more imaginative. We did realise having our main character in a red boat in 101 ways is a bit of a risk. Some people won't like it and some people don't. But we felt also that sense of Orry, that he was self-deprecating, had this sense of humour, that we felt so often, I mean, most of the words that come out of our actor's mouth were things that Orry actually said in articles and letters that we found. And we thought, well, you know, it's so boring to have a narrator saying he had, you know, a dry wit. I mean, you want to hear the
No, I loved it. I thought it was just a wonderful element.
Oh, good.
And
good.
also, you know, the fact that you did end up speaking to, you know, Angela Lansbury and Jane Fonda. I mean, Jane Fonda really, she looks so amazing. It really is unbelievable.
No, I actually, I can't bear the fact there are publicity stills of me next to Jane Fonda, and she looks 10 years younger than me, but she admits she's had a bit of work done.
Yeah, but I want to know who her doctor is, because boy, awesome. But no,
but let me tell you, I took my Australian crew. I particularly chose a female cinematographer who can shoot women and people over the age of of 70
Yeah.
very, very well. And I think Anna Howard did a beautiful job lighting
Beautiful,
both Angela
yeah. And
Lansbury
Angela,
and Jane.
Yeah.
And truly, Jane was so generous. I mean, she originally only had like 20 minutes of time, and she ended up staying with us for over an hour.
Wow.
And then, you know, from saying she, you know, hardly remembered much of that time, and she certainly didn't like those films, but I said, please, Jane, please be in it, because no matter what, you look great in those films. And then all these stories came out, and, you know, she's really became quite emotional finally in the film, and it's just lovely.
Yeah, wonderful. You know, for somebody like you, when you look at the films that you've given us, and they're all beautiful, period, you know, the Little Women and onward, beautiful costumes. Did it make you kind of appreciate more after finishing this what the costume designer goes through?
Well, yes, but I think I already knew, which is one of the reasons I wanted to do the film and why I felt sort of close to the story. I mean, for two reasons. One, I also left Australia, left my country to make it finally in Hollywood. I mean, I didn't go with that ambition. I mean, they very kindly took me. Yeah. And also, I've worked with some amazing costume designers. Colleen Atwood, who I now really regret, I was sort of being stupidly humble. She designed the costumes for Little Women, and it was her very first Oscar nomination. She's in the film. She's designed all Tim Burton's and now won the Oscar herself, I think, 3 times. Yeah. She talks about Irma la Douce as one of her favourite films. So, you know, having worked with people like Colleen, I mean, Janet Patterson, who was nominated for The Piano, which, no, unfortunately is not my film, but she did Oscar Lucinda for me.
Yes.
So I know how much they give to the story, quite often subliminally. I know how much great costume designers give to an actor and help that actor with their performance. So that was one of the things that I wanted to bring out. But in the end, Mr. Orry-Kelly took over.